He doesn't like to do any of his own work. He just likes other people to do the work for him.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, here we are for week 2 start and sits. We actually have Jordan and I. We are in Chicago at a bar. We're going to come at you with the start and sit, starting at the quarterback position. If you have any questions, just pop into the chat, and let's go ahead and jump into it. Jordan, any of the top players you want to talk about up here? Let's say through Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan. He does have the tendency to terrorize the 49ers. That's one of the reasons that I'm not a big fan.
Okay.
However, he's going up against the Rams. This is a division game. They play hard. Kyler Murray can shine today. I'm not the biggest fan for today. And obviously you see those top 5 guys up there, Josh Allen, Hurts, Jackson, Mahomes, Richardson. Obviously automatic starts if they're on your squad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't see a position where somebody's debating between Allen and Mahomes because chances are they're not.
Exactly. I mean, Richardson's a guy that I've just not been the highest on. He threw that deep ball where I think the next gen stat said it was like 2%, the odds of it completing. And, he targeted Pittman, I think, like 10 times, and he only had like 2 or 3. So that was also the concern when he came out of college, was his accuracy. So we'll see about that.
He does like to throw it, though.
He does like to throw because he can throw it a mile.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to have a great game against the Giants. I actually would push him into the top 5.
Agreed. He was in my starts for this week. I mean, it was interesting coming in because I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of college football, so it was getting these rookie QBs and actually ranking them somewhere was a little more difficult.
Hey,
but
Jackie.
After that first game, phenomenal. Big Jaden Daniels fan.
Yeah, I like Jaden Daniels a lot too. Someone on here that I was shocked that they had Tua so high. Obviously he got hurt and stuff, but he just did not have a great game. Baker, I think Baker, the way he started to click at the end of last season with his teammates and everything, I definitely would have him inside my starting 10. I think, who was it that I pushed down? I pushed Tua down. I even started Baker over Purdy, hurting your guy. Is there anyone in this mid-range you want to highlight or talk about?
Well, actually, sticking with Baker Mayfield real quick, this is an interesting game. I know this is more of I'm about to dive into more of the game matchup here, but Detroit, I think, is a little overrated, which is weird to say, them coming off being an NFC Championship team, and Tampa Bay, I think, is a little underrated. So this is an interesting matchup. It's going to depend on what Tampa Bay team shows up, because they can be good and they can be very underwhelming.
Yeah.
So Baker Mayfield, I don't know. Joe Burrow, I think, is a little too high.
I agree. I agree. I'll tell you, Justin Fields, I think, is very interesting. If he has a good game, I think they let him run with it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and against Denver, I don't see why he can't.
I like Justin Fields. His legs just, to me, he should be up there with Kyler Murray and some of those other runners.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind that at all.
All right. Trevor Lawrence against that D, they didn't show up against Dallas. What do you think with Lawrence?
So I think the whole Jacksonville team has not a bounce back game, because there wasn't really a game before that where they were cruising, but I do think that they step it up this year, or this game this week for sure. I like the whole Jacksonville team as a whole. It's interesting coming up against the Cleveland defense, but
this bit was.
Oh, we just got some food, man.
Super warm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So we're moving on down. Someone that will, before going to the next position group, highlight Geno Smith. Jordan, you want to talk about that? You picked him as your deep sleeper.
I did. He is my deep sleeper, mainly because they're going up against New England. I like Geno Smith as a quarterback. I know he's getting older, but he still has the legs. He can still do it with his legs, his arm. I'm big on Geno Smith, and I think that he's somebody that could have a phenomenal week.
Yeah, I would have Geno above Aaron. I would have him above Daniel Jones. Caleb Williams. Hopefully it's not the curse of the Bears, guys. We're here in Chicago. We'll see. but Caleb Williams did not look good. He had 93 yards.
Yeah,
like,
it was pretty embarrassing.
all right, Deshaun Watson. I honestly think this is who he is now. You have any thoughts
You
on him?
think? I'm holding out hope. I don't have him in any fantasy leagues or anything like that, but it's crazy the drop off that he had. I know he's going through the off-field stuff.
He doesn't have the special massages anymore. That was clearly his superpower.
Yeah, there
was
you
the
go.
special massages. All right, anyone here you want to talk about?
No, you're pretty much getting to slim pickings. at the bottom of the
Exactly.
barrel.
All right, let's go to the next position group. All right, so next up we got running back position everyone loves. Brees Hall, Saquon, don't have to talk about. I will tell you, right here, Atlanta versus Philly. Cousins worries me, and that with Cousins worrying me, that worries me a little about Bijan because he is a stud, but it kind of caps the ceiling. I think if you don't have that quarterback that can open up those lanes, what do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't write off Kirk Cousins yet.
He looked like a statue.
Yeah, but Russ, well, they say Russ. He's coming back from the injury and whatnot. I think Atlanta's going to be fine. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be serviceable. Maybe not elite, but at least enough to keep the offense going, get the offense going. I think Bijan's going to be fine.
Okay.
No issue.
Jonathan Taylor, anyone here? Henry, I think, is a just must start against Las Vegas.
Yep.
Pacheco. All right, let's jump into it. Jordan Mason. All right. If you guys don't know, Jordan, who's with us, is a huge 49ers fan. I personally started Jordan Mason in all my leagues that I had him because, to me, the 49ers are the running back machine. All right, take it away with your thoughts.
Yeah, their system is anything that Kyle Shanahan does is just going to get the best out of whoever is in there. They're a plug-and-play system, so Christian McCaffrey going down obviously is a huge blow, but when you're able to have a aggressive runner like Jordan Mason step in and fill the shoes of Christian McCaffrey, who's also a very aggressive player, I think it just he just fits the system. He's a wonderful player. He's aggressive and he runs hard. So
Yeah.
I think you'll have no issue starting Jordan Mason in any.
Yes, Jacob, that definitely does suck about CMC and A.J. Brown. Hey, but that is a great point that Jacob brought up. A.J. Brown, I'm glad they announced it today because there's nothing worse than when you're playing the questionable game going into Monday night and you're like, oh man, what do I do? I'll take a quick note to tell everyone, if you have someone that's questionable in a later game, you want to have them in your flex spot. So if you have to drop them or change someone else, then at least you can put a tight end, whoever's available. That way you're just not locked into, one position. So that's kind of the pro tip is if you have someone questionable and you're worried, definitely put them in your flex. You agree?
Yeah, and I actually last week dropped the ball in one of my. It didn't end up biting me, but there was some nervousness going into to Monday night because I actually played somebody earlier in a flex spot where I should have had them in my
you made the
spot.
rookie.
Almost. It almost bit me.
And
but-
lastly, on that note, always put your players that are playing the latest in your flex spot. Oh, sorry, I zoomed in a little bit too much, guys. Gonna get you a little bit better view. There we go. Sorry about that. But yeah, always want your later players. All right, we're going on about this. Mixon, any concerns? The Bears defense look good.
Yeah, the Bears defense is good. I just think Houston's going to be able to move the ball, and I think they're going to have a lead, and Joe Mixon's going to get plenty of work. So start.
I'll just quickly touch on that. Look, they had James Cook move down. They got the down arrow. That was a mistake if anyone followed this. Clearly. Josh Jacobs, I'm going to tell you, from what I saw, exactly, I'm a Packers fan with Malik Willis. I don't have Jacobs starting. If I could have, I put in some more of the borderline players. Trying to think off the top of my head. Some of the ones I put in. So I know I put in Zeke over him in one of them, and that could hurt me. But also Zeke did last week exactly what I predicted, which was 40 yards and a touchdown. As long as you give me 10 points, I'm happy.
Exactly. Double digits is the name of the game.
Exactly. All right, moving on. David Montgomery. That guy is just, and he was going, in those mid rounds again, just showing like a steal. Any concerns? All right, let's talk about ETN real quick. Man, Jacob, you read our mind. That's literally who I just said. What about ETN? Tank Bigsby worries me.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, ETN did not have a great game. It's against Cleveland's tough defense. The Cowboys didn't have great yards on the ground. But then again, the Browns are trash, Jacob. So
What's funny about ETN is I was really big on him coming into all my drafts, and I didn't get him in a single league. That's kind of how it felt.
the way the board was falling.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it worked out. But ETN, I was big on, not so big on for this game, even though I do think Jacksonville is going to have a better game than they did last week. But yeah, I'm not too big against the Cleveland defense for the running back.
Yeah, ETN, I think if you have someone else that you can start, Ramondre, J.K. Dobbins, come back from Achilles, his knee. He looked fantastic against Carolina.
Yep.
I think he's almost a must start in your flex if you have him.
Yeah, I like J.K. Dobbins. I was big on him last year, and it burned me when he got hurt. But
it hurt me too.
I'm all about second chances.
Exactly.
And I think he deserves it.
Exactly.
He's somebody that deserves it.
Brian Robinson, loved him, hated Eckler, but showed that he looks to be the guy. I would say at worst they're 60-40 split, hopefully more 70-30. What do you think?
And going up against the Giants.
Exactly, more garbage.
I think he's a start.
Now I will talk about the Browns player I do like, Jerome Ford. I was banging the drum, especially when Chubb started coming out. He wasn't going to be starting. I honestly don't think he gives a roll back to Chubb. I think when Chubb comes back, he's going to be that kind of power change of pace guy, and it's Ford's job.
That's interesting. You're right. When Chubb went down last year, Jerome Ford stepped in, was dominating, and now you're looking at this year, Jerome Ford. I think he just continues what he's doing, and you could be right. Chubb is a
28-29.
So
I agree. I agree. Let's go on. Charbonnet. The news came out. Walker is also out. A lot of first-year backs last year didn't show so well, so I'll be more just interested to see how Charbonnet does this week.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think especially against New England, I think the whole Seattle offense is going to be able to move pretty well. And I also think that Seattle's going to be playing with the lead once again, so there should be plenty of work for Charbonnet.
Yeah. Just quickly moving on so we can go to the next position group. Zach Moss, I think, showed he's a primary back. And with that being a shootout, and he's always been the pass-catching back, I think he's definitely a flex play. Swift, I'm not playing.
No.
Gus, I'm not playing. I did highlight Eckler. I did highlight Zeke. I think you can put Zeke kind of up here in this range. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And looking at more running backs around that area, Zamir White, not a big fan this week. I
agree.
I am a big fan of Zamir White, and I think he will get the ball rolling, but this ain't the week for it.
Yeah, so a couple of running backs that I have had to talk people off the ledge after week one, which, it's always funny, the snap. Javonte Williams, Zamir White, I think those are holds for at least. Yeah, Zeke did look good, but I think you hold Javonte Williams and Zamir White. What do you think?
Exactly. You kind of got to wait and see.
Yeah,
with
especially after this week's matchup. Give them 3 weeks. They just got a terrible matchup. Chuba. The thing is he is definitely a decent running back, but again, Carolina's just garbage.
And for running backs on Carolina, it's rough because they're going to be playing from behind a lot, and they're not going to get as much work. But.
Just quickly, a few more. Tank Bigsby, I think you pick up if you can. Madison's a pickup. Obviously, Jalen Warder, but he was a starter, and the fact he's fallen that it kind of shows, with their new coordinator, he is a one-back guy, which is crazy the way he handled Bijan last year.
Yeah, definitely.
I will say one more player to highlight, Bucky Irving. The big knock on White has always been his running on the ground. And if you looked at the numbers last week, Bucky he had some good underlying numbers. I think he put up 4 or 5 points, and it was all rushing. So, if Rachaad White only becomes kind of a third down specialist, then that kind of hurts him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Bucky Irving could be a guy that steps in and picks up more work throughout the season.
All right, anyone else you want to talk about for going on wide receivers?
No, let's jump to it.
All right, let's go into the wide receivers, guys. Okay. Now, this I found interesting even before the game, that they had Tyreek Hill number 1. I actually had him a little bit lower because, I think Tyreek is someone that starts off season well, but from what I saw last week, I think that he's maybe lost a little bit of step. Still great, but just, again, he's 30, 31 years old. Who would you like to talk about in this group?
I mean, give Hill a break. He got arrested.
Exactly. True. All right, who would you like to talk about in this group?
I mean, I'm really big on Mike Evans.
Mike Evans in
he's
Detroit.
Getting older, but all he does is produce 1,000-yard season after 1,000-yard season. I think he's got 10 1,000-yard seasons in a row or something like that. And
Correct.
I don't see any
The
reason
first person
why
ever.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why he's going to slow down.
I agree. I just wouldn't have him in the top 6, and something I've been beating the drum on. We will jump down and then go back up. Chris Godwin, he's way down there at number 21. I would probably have him in the top 15. I think, and I've been saying this, the last 4 weeks of the season going into the playoffs, it looks like it's a little changing of the guard where he looks at Godwin 1 and then Evans and Godwin in the slot. So I like Godwin just slightly above Mike Evans.
Yeah, I mean, I like both of them. You can't go wrong with Evans or Godwin. You can't.
You agree this is way too low for Godwin?
Yeah, I agree, and that's why Baker Mayfield is a decent play going back to the quarterbacks real quick because he's got, like Josh said, probably 2 top 15, definitely 2 top 20.
And the guy we were just talking about, White, can definitely catch the ball.
And Rachaad White,
Exactly. So Jamar Chase, I would expect to bounce back. He got his first training camp reps last week in a real game, so I would expect him to do okay this week.
Yeah, he'll shake the rust off from last week, and he should be good to go. I know KC's got a good defense, but this is Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. That's what we're used to seeing, so I think they pick it back up.
Garrett Wilson, I find interesting. Aaron Rodgers, man, again, he looked better than Cousins, but I mean, he is always a better talent than Cousins. Just kind of curious how that plays out. I was happy to see Nico being the number 1. I faded him a little bit because I was afraid that Diggs would just demand the ball, even if his talent wasn't quite there anymore. And then Rashid Rice, he was definitely the number 1 option for the Chiefs if you look at his target share. Who would you like to talk about?
Well, starting with Garrett Wilson, big Garrett Wilson fan. I think that him and Aaron Rodgers are going to build great chemistry. It was tough to see against the 49ers last week, obviously a good defense, but I think Wilson going forward is going to be top notch, and I think he was going in like 2nd round. I think was his.
Like almost at the 1-2 pick again.
Right
at
the wrap there. So I think he's phenomenal. I think he will be good. I think he's a must start just about every week. Looking at Brandon Ayuk, I think Jacob yesterday put him in his starts for wide receivers, and I think that is a phenomenal play. He shook the rust off last week. Had that one dime Purdy threw him in the corner of the end zone that he probably should. I don't know if he should have caught, but he could have caught it. And I think that Ayuk's going to be another animal this week against Minnesota.
Yeah. Devontae Smith, obviously you're bumping him up.
Yeah, Brown's out.
Yeah. DJ Moore, we'll see if Caleb can throw the ball. I mean, I do like DJ Moore. Against Singletary in a tough Houston D, I might bump down Moore down to like this lower area. But again, it is the 2nd week, so it's hard to make too many snap judgments. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., he just laid an egg. And there's some interesting stats that I don't know if you saw some of them. He had like one of the slowest running times when he's out on the field and stuff. Really? They're wondering if that's why he dodged the combine and he also dodged working out at the Ohio State Pro Day. It's because, that his numbers wouldn't be that great and then he would fall. So it's really interesting metrics. But who would you like to talk about in this group?
Well, DJ Moore, I'm not a fan of any Chicago wide receivers. It's specifically not because of the wide receivers and their talent, but because of Caleb Williams. And until Caleb Williams is throwing the ball consistently, I'm staying away from Moore, Allen, Odunze. I have Odunze in a couple leagues, and he's just sitting on my bench chilling.
It's crazy how far he went up drafts because of Hard Knocks. Like, he was going in the 8th, 9th round, and there was players, he was going around Chris Godwin, and I'm like, why would you take the number 3 rookie receiver over Chris? Blew my mind. All right, here's a player I want to highlight for everyone that I'm going to say use with caution. Xavier Worthy. All right, great numbers, look fantastic. Everyone got on the hype train. He did that with 3 touches. 3 touches, which again shows how electric he is, but that also shows how volatile he can be, if, they kind of stop him. So
yeah, but Hollywood Brown's going to be out, so he's gonna fill that role and be that guy. They're speedy, deep threat, and I think with Patrick Mahomes, you can't go wrong throwing the deep ball. I mean, he's going to get his targets, he's going to get his catches, and it's not like he's got a Caleb Williams trying to throw him the ball downfield. We're
Are we
talking-
just going to keep beating up the Bears?
Yeah. We're talking about Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes, so I mean, he's
Okay.
going to get his shots, and his targets are going to be good targets. They're not
Yeah.
going to just be any random target.
I'll be interested how London bounces back real quick, because Philly doesn't have a great secondary, so he needs to, I think, step up to show he can be a top 20.
A lot of people are big on him this week, so I think he can do it.
Yeah, I like Flowers. I like George Pickens. I mean, Pickens was just a beast last week whenever him and Fields started clicking a little bit. Let's see here. Michael Pittman, I kind of talked about him, how he had like 10 targets, and I think he had 4 receptions, is under 50 yards, I think. So it'll be curious to see how that goes with Richardson.
Yeah, I'm big on also Terry McLaurin right there.
Yep.
I mean, he's 31, ranked 31 here, but I was I'm
closer to that top
all
20.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm surprised he's down so low, especially going up against the Giants this weekend. I don't see any reason why he's not going to possibly have a breakout performance.
So a rookie that I was high on, and I've been telling people to draft and pick up, is Brian Thomas. I mean, he was a touchdown machine, and showing there in Jacksonville, they just don't have that great of talent. Yes, Kirk is good, but I expect Brian Thomas by the end of the season to be the number 1 wide receiver.
Definitely. Brian Thomas, balling. He will be balling.
Yeah, now this hurts me to say, Jaden Reed. I have all the Packers right now off my board. I don't think Willis can throw the ball. So I don't, obviously do not drop Jaden Reed, but I wouldn't start him unless you just had to.
No,
And they're going to scheme for him.
Yeah, and I was big on Jaden Reed coming into the season, but yeah, with Jordan Love not there throwing the ball to him, he's probably going to be riding my bench until he comes back.
Okay, moving on. I'll let Jordan say who he likes, but I do want to highlight one last late kind of person. Demarcus Robinson. Last year, whenever Cooper Kupp or Puka were dinged up, he stepped into that number 2 role over Tutu, and he definitely just showed that he fits that offense so great. So I expect him to keep returning decent numbers. So if you're looking for a flexer and you're really, really deep league and have to start a bunch of players, look at Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah, definitely. And looking up a little higher up to Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks. I like both of them this week. I was somewhat on the Rashid Shaheed bandwagon last year because in one of my leagues we start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. So he was one of my flex guys all season, and he's got the ability to put up big games. I know some games he's kind of quiet, but I think as he grows into the league, he'll become more consistent.
Right. I was hyping up Brandon Cooks all off season because of the last few weeks of the season, and also, he had all training camp because. Number 1, Lamb wanted his money, which good for him, but Cooks, I do like Cooks. Palmer, I'm curious to see just how, he does. There's a couple other late people down here. Let's see here. Mooney, if he ever gets going, I think he's a kind of option, but these are deep players. Anyone deep you want to talk about?
No, maybe Adonai Mitchell. He
did show, yeah.
Game, but he's all going to be, does he catch his targets or does he get
But on that note, with Mitchell and with Pittman, the Packers' strength is their secondary.
True.
So that is where they're strong. That's kind of why I had the Packers as my deep sleeper for defenses, but we'll get to that. All right, moving on up quickly, we will go to tight end. All right, tight end, Sam Laporta. There's not much to talk about. Hopefully he has a big bounce back. Travis Kelce, it's interesting to see Gray out there as much as he was.
Yeah, tight end is such a tricky position, and I think especially this year because maybe I'm just too optimistic on a lot of these guys, but I think you're looking at these top 10 guys, and they're all very serviceable. They're all probable starts, I should say.
I mean, Trey McBride was the number 1 option. He had 10 targets. I mean, he definitely, and against the Rams, I'm expecting good things. Kittle's always just how they use him because he's such a good blocker.
Yeah, it depends on the scheme or the game plan, if he's going to be blocking, if they're going to try to get him some ball. That's a problem when you got teams with the talent that they have. Are they going to be throwing it to the wide receivers? Are they going to try to be getting it to Kittle? Are they going to be running it? So it's tough to figure out, and Kittle's one of those guys that he's either going to have a dud or he's gonna
Yeah.
put up 15, 20 points.
So let's talk about the guy everyone's probably wondering about, Mark Andrews. I personally think is a change in the guard. What I saw last year with Isaiah Likely, I liked. I was trying to get him late in drafts because of all
Dude
the
with
stuff he
a
did.
Purdy jersey just walked in. Sorry.
No worries, because of what I saw from Likely last year. I'm not saying drop Mark Andrews, but definitely keep an eye on him, and I would probably have a pretty short leash with him.
Yeah, it's tough because everybody's big on Isaiah Likely, and he's got the athleticism to be great. But Mark Andrews, I think until he doesn't perform for a few weeks in a row, I think he's still the guy in Baltimore, and I think he's still a must start.
All right, Kyle Pitts. I've always been down on him. He only had 3 targets. Thank you, Jay. Glad you agree with Likely. I know you like him. Spence, you blew up your fab on him. Kyle Pitts, though, I've been down on him. And if you look at stats, what really helped him last week was TD Poopery. Other than that, he was a bust. I mean, it's good that you got the TD, but without it, he would have had 2.3 points, which is what you tend to get from Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, looking down at Goddard down there, I'm
Yes.
surprised how many people have been dropping him in my leagues. Now that AJ Brown's out, it kind of elevates his status.
I would definitely have him like right around here in that top with
but
AJ Brown
It's
out.
crazy. I literally picked him up off the waivers in 2 leagues where I had Dalton Schultz was my starter in both those leagues, and I was like, Goddard's available? Like, easy decision.
Yep, so I don't mind saying Brock Bowers, I was wrong. Maybe their second round guy last year, Myers, maybe he just wasn't that good. Maybe that is why, I was going to be a little skeptical, but Bowers was the clear number 2 behind Devontae Adams.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest hater on Bowers, but the Las Vegas offense, I'm not the biggest fan on.
Yeah,
So.
the hot name with the people being injured is Kobe Parkinson. I think he's definitely someone you can look to stream this week, especially if one of your guys is out at tight end. The other person I would say kind of look at, I mentioned him, he didn't have a great game, but against the defense, Tyler Conklin, just because Aaron Rodgers does know how to spread the ball around. Is there any guys down here in the bottom you want to talk about?
No, I was really big on Dalton Schultz coming in this year, but like I was saying with Kittle, you have the firepower all over that offense, and it's really about the game plan. And are they going to work him the ball? Probably not, especially with Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Joe Mixon. Those are probably going to be your big money guys on that offense. But Dalton Schultz, he'll have his weeks where he's going to put up 10, 15, 20 points, but it's probably going to be few and far between.
All right. Talk a couple of defenses, then we'll get into the teams and some of the bets we like. New York Jets against Tennessee, Baltimore. I mean, these top couple ones, I don't think you even have to talk about. It's interesting. Chargers, they were out there on the waiver wire, and of course, everyone snapped them up.
Yeah, definitely. In all of my leagues, so-and-so picked up the Chargers, so-and-so picked up the Chargers. So they're obviously the stream play this week. We'll see how they work out. Because Carolina, obviously, they don't have much going for them.
Exactly. Until they decide to go with Andy Dalton, the red BB gun.
They're like the Carolina Panthers are like the White Sox of the NFL
Yeah.
right now. It's like everybody's just hoping to play him or waiting to play him just to beat up on him.
So a defense people have been picking up is the Seahawks. And, I've been a little, because New England didn't look too terrible. Jacoby Brissett is always someone that's a decent quarterback when he's out there. He knows how to game manage. So I don't think he's just a must stream.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks, New England, obviously not that good of an offense, but they do have some weapons. And, hey, they won last week, so Why couldn't they do it again against the Seahawks?
Texans against Chicago, I think that's a start, especially over like the Seahawks. The Texans have a great young D-line. They have Singletary out there as a second, as one of those top cornerbacks. Let's see here, diving down. Obviously, the Eagles against Atlanta if Kirk Cousins is definitely washed. Is there anyone you want to mention?
Well, going with the Eagles, I saw the over-under for that game was at like 47.
All right, Ayuk or Olave?
Ayuk or Olave?
Yeah, we just got a question from someone. And then we got, all right, so Ayuk or Olave. So, I definitely like Ayuk. Olave, let's see here. They're against the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys know how to roll coverage. And he kind of had a just not a great game last week. I think he only had like 4 targets, so I'm definitely going with Ayuk over Olave. You have an agreement or disagreement?
100% going with Ayuk, and like I said earlier, I'm going with what Jacob said. Ayuk's going to have a solid game this week. He is looking to bounce back from a couple rough drops.
Yeah, so London, you have London down here kind of like in this mid-tier. So you have London against Philly, and then you have Zay Flowers against Las Vegas. I get why you're asking. That's definitely a tough matchup. I definitely would say London just because of the fact that the pedigree and everything, and I want to see what he can do. That's where you kind of looking up your matchup. If you're cool with London, maybe just getting you 8 or 9 points, and that's fine. If you need a big game, I think Zay Flowers is the one that probably has a higher ceiling. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm more like London for this, but I'm hoping for Zay Flowers because I have I'm blanking.
Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson.
Okay, there we go. Lamar
I have
Jackson.
Lamar Jackson in 5 of my 6 leagues.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, so I'm hoping Zay Flowers has a bigger game, but I'm leaning towards
Yeah.
Drake London.
So I'd go London for the higher floor. Zay Flowers if you just need to be playing catch up on points. Let's quickly get back in defenses, and then we will tell you the teams we like. Anyone else down here? I think the last one I want to mention is I have the Packers as my super deep sleeper if you want to start them. Because their secondary is so good, then they can focus on that ground game of theirs. What do you think? Anyone here before we get into the games?
The only one that's probably outside of the top 10 is Jaguars. They're coming up against Cleveland like we went over Deshaun Watson. It's just he's struggling right now,
Yep.
and until he bounces back, it's kind of that whole offense is going to struggle.
All right, let's get into the games. We'll tell you who we like, if we like the spread, different things like that. All right, first, Raiders versus the Ravens. I'm definitely not touching 8.5 points. That I always think's way too much, but I'm taking the Ravens. You have any?
I would take the Ravens even with the 8.5.
Woo!
I took them in my survival league, and I would take them with the spread too. 8.5, it is a lot, but this is the Raiders.
This is the one I think you take. I think you take the Chargers and give up 4.5. I mean, did they see the Panthers last week? I know you kind of been preaching the Panthers. You like their defense?
Yeah, they have a decent, as far as their secondary goes, they have a decent secondary, and the Chargers, like I said, they're a one-trick pony mostly with Justin Herbert throwing the ball. So it's really going to depend on how Justin Herbert goes. That's how the Chargers are going to go. And I probably would still take the Chargers on the spread on this one, but I wouldn't count out the Panthers completely in this game.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We have Saints and Cowboys. I'm probably just taking the Cowboys in the money line here. 6.5 with what the Saints did last week. I wouldn't want to give that many points up.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm probably taking the Saints plus 6.5.
Yeah.
And as far as the over/under on that, I'm probably going to take the over.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm taking the over
I know
all
the
day.
Cowboys have a good defense, but I think this has shootout potential.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. We're talking about this, and you go a little bit wider. Sorry. Whoop. One day I'll come up with a better system than just the camera. All right, sorry. We'll just back it up. Sorry. All right, quickly get into the last few things. All right, so we have the Buccaneers Lions. This is one, if I'm doing something crazy, I might do the Buccaneers straight on the money line at the 300. That is just something that I think I like the Bucks to maybe pull up the upset. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Bucks on the money line. I'm definitely taking the Bucks plus 7.5.
Oh, yeah,
There's no question about that.
I think that's an easy one.
Yeah.
This was one I thought was interesting. I'm a big believer in Vegas knows what they're doing. They only had the Packers as 2.5-point dogs
That's
without their starting quarterback.
That's interesting. I'm taking the Colts minus the 2.5 all day.
Right, but that also tells me what Vegas thinks of the Colts.
Yeah.
Healthy against a team with their backup.
Yeah, that's true.
So, gives me hope for the future with my Packers. All right, Browns versus Jaguars. I'm taking the Jaguars, just straight money line. Any thoughts there?
I'm taking the Jags. They burned me last week in my pick'ems, but I'm taking them this week. I think they have a better game.
All right, Jordan's team, 49ers versus the Vikings. I said this in my video. The 49ers are a real team. I'm probably taking the 49ers and the -4.
Yeah, I would say even you could bump that to like another -5.
Yeah, do a little
or
teaser.
-6,
Exactly.
yeah.
I think you could go 6.5. I mean, I would feel a little comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Seahawks, Patriots. I think it's the the Seahawks win. But depending on I'd go the money line. You taking points or money line?
On this one, I'm taking the Seahawks, just the money line. This
Yeah.
is going to be a closer game, I think, than people think. I think the Seahawks get it done, but it's potential for Patriots to be there right at the end.
Jets, Titans. I think it's the Jets all day long.
Yeah.
I even give up the 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a game, I think.
Yep. Go Hawks. All right, Seahawks person. See you out there. All right. Giants versus Commanders. I think I'm going the Commanders in the money line here. What are you doing?
I mean, I'm surprised that the spread's only a 1.5. I'm taking the Commanders all day.
And
There's-
you're giving up the 1.5?
Yeah, 1.5. I'm giving up 2.5.
Rams and Cardinals. I think that's going to be a fun game. I'm actually going to do the over, I would say. It's at 47.5. I think I do the over on the points. And I picked the Cardinals to win outright this week in some of my leagues.
Yeah, I would take the Cardinals in this one, and I'm taking the over as well, 47.5. I think this has big play potential. I know obviously Puka's out, but the points are going to be there. Kyler Murray's going to be there, so
Yep. Bengals, Chiefs. This is going to be interesting. Bengals always seem to start slow to start the year. If they're going to beat the Chiefs, they got to come out. So for that reason, if it's a game, I definitely think you take the over in the 4.5. But I like the Bengals and 6.5 points.
yeah, I'm not touching the spread or the money line. I'm just betting the over on this one.
There we go. We have Steelers and the Broncos. I will tell you, I took the Broncos to win. So I took the Broncos on plus 125. I think that, with their coach scheming up right, Bo Nix could be a little bit of Russell Wilson. And so that was my feeling with that. But I also really do like the Steelers. You never count out Coach Tomlin.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers, and I'm going to take the under on this one. I know that 36.5 points doesn't seem like a lot of points in it for an NFL game, but I'm still taking the under. I don't think either of these teams has too much going for them offensively.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the under 36.5 points. That's just terrible football, but yeah, that seems to be what the game will be.
Definitely.
Just a slugfest. All right, Bears and Texans. I mean, I'm taking the Texans. I'm probably taking the Texans even at -6. What's your thoughts?
Interesting. I mean, we've been bashing the Bears all day,
The Bears.
but I'm taking the Texans money line. I do think that the Bears have the talent that they could turn it on if they wanted to, but I think they have the talent that they could be in some games this year, and 6 points is quite a lot. I'm taking Texans money line.
All right, and finally, I'm doing the Falcons and Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking just straight money line because if Kirk Cousins does kind of click, I don't want to touch it. But what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same train of mind here. I'm taking the money line Eagles, and I'm taking the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I saw the other day that the over/under was at 47, and I was still thinking over. So I'm thinking there's probably going to be 50 points scored in that game.
Okay. All right. Well, game's about to start, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you guys have a great week and some great football games.
All right, take it easy, guys.